Hello, hello. We're back for another week of Launch Codes Football. I'm Daniel.
Matthew.
And yes, Chelsea, unfortunately, she's out with a bout of laryngitis. I'm not sure if that's because she was screaming for joy after Indiana beat Ohio State in the Big Ten championship, or was she screaming in agony because Daniel Jones tore his Achilles? Either or, this has been a very interesting week for all Indiana sports fans. And best, and best to say that hopefully she'll be back sometime this week and go Hoosiers. I actually don't care about Indiana football, but I've never seen the Hoosiers be this good, so go Hoosiers.
I don't think anyone, and I'm filling in for Chelsea, and we certainly hope she feels better. Like, yeah, but I don't think anyone in our lifetime had actually seen like Indiana football be this good. So,
Well, we got our Jameis Winston, Russell Wilson backup over here, and one team that definitely needs a backup after Week 14, the Washington Commanders, because for some forsaken reason they decided to bring back Jaden Daniels, who once again injured his left elbow. Granted, it's not as gruesome as the first injury he suffered from his left elbow, but still, this is a team that's at this point, was it 3-9, not like 4-10. This is a team that essentially is in last place. No, actually, no, sorry, they're not in last place.
no, yeah.
They
Giant
would
fan,
be
yeah.
they would in most divisions they'll be in last place, but this team's not making the playoffs. This team's not going to do anything this season. Unfortunately, this has been the season from Hiffle this year after NFC Championship berth last year. It's like they didn't remember RG3. It's like they just decided, like, I get Dan Snyder was a terrible owner. You want to forget the Dan Snyder era. You should remember the mistakes of the Dan Snyder era of not putting out your young, dynamic, injury-prone quarterback in a even RG3. That was a playoff game. This is just a useless game in December where you're not going to be well. At this point, did Dan Snyder become the Washington's coach for something? What are they doing?
I guess I'm playing devil's advocate. Yeah, I mean, the season for Washington, it didn't go out as expected. They're not making the playoffs this season. But I will say, I mean, he was medically cleared to play again. This is still, I mean, even though he had a dynamic first season, this is still only like his second season. He missed a lot of time, a lot of reps this regular season. So I'm like, if he's already cleared, I mean, it might be like I mean, even on the outside, we may look at it as like, why is Washington playing him? It makes no sense. I mean, maybe as a like internal morale booster, if he's ready to play, and you can't. And if he wants to play, I mean, you just let him play. I mean, just the result didn't turn out good, didn't turn out right. But I mean, yes, and it's easy, I guess, in hindsight to say like, why was he playing? But I do understand like the reason like why they threw him out there. I think.
I just, I'm sorry. Like, what's the best case scenario is he goes back to his last year's. He wasn't even that bad in terms of his whole season as a whole. It's just he's been injury prone. But in terms of your best case scenario, he has and he shows off from what he did last year. He improves on that. They win every game, and instead of being like the seventh pick in the draft, you're now like the 14th pick in the draft. You have no hope of making the playoffs. And unfortunately, that's not the most gruesome injury. The Zach Ertz injury later in the game was terrible.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, the Vikings finally showed nine showed us nine to be.
Washington. I mean, they made what's his name? They made McCarthy, JJ McCarthy, look like Fran Tarkenton out there. I mean, the way he was slinging the field. I mean, I know Justin Jefferson and that whole offensive skill. So they were like, where has this been for so long? So I mean, yeah, I didn't really have a rooting interest in that game, but it was nice because there's so much talent on that Vikings team. But so it's disappointing to see how the season's played out. So they needed like this kind of one explosion of offense. So that was fun to see.
I think Jefferson still had like two or three catches for like 14 yards or something. Jefferson's he wants if he has if he has a George Pickens like crash out, everyone like, no, he deserves that. He's allowed to have that. He's allowed. And speaking of George Pickens and just disappointing seasons because of your injury prone quarterback, see what I did there? Yeah, the Cowboys in Cincinnati were holding on to dear life after amazing victories on Thanksgiving. We're like, we got a chance. All we gotta do is win out. We're playoff bound, and they both lose to the other team.
I mean, especially. I mean, it's so annoying because they both have great quarterbacks with Dak. I mean, and then you have Joe Burrow, and Joe Burrow's probably consensus like a top four quarterback in the league when he's healthy. And to see them because with Cincinnati, it's very frustrating because it's been like 2 years ongoing now where the offense is dynamic. but then the defense just hasn't been able to hold up. And it's a shame because you're wasting these kind of prime years of Joe Burrow where after that one Super Bowl appearance, they almost beat the Rams. It's like, oh, they'll be back. But like this kind of shows that like you never know when you'll get back. You just kind of be tool and get better. So it's very disappointing. I mean, they're both kind of I mean, I think they're both gone, especially Cincinnati. But I feel like Dallas, if there's anything, Dallas has like, I don't know, probably like a less than 10% chance. So they still have something to play for. Cincinnati, I think they should just kind of finish out the season strong and then look ahead to next year. Because I think their season's done. Dallas has a slim, very slim chance. But yeah, it kind of put a rain on things after the hot thing seemed like, yeah, we're back. And then the kind of lose to the Lions and then to the Buffalo Bills. It was a tough one for both teams, I imagine.
Yeah, don't you have to lie. You're happy the Cowboys lost. I'm happy the
Oh
Bengals
yeah.
lost.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I know people would hate watching Kansas City versus Houston. Like I always hate watch whenever Dallas is losing in a big game. That's what I do.
It's a summary of what this season have been like. The Cowboys they just lost because Jameer Gibbs looks like Barry Sanders right now. They defensively they went back to what they were earlier in the season. Detroit did whatever they wanted on offense against them, and that was the name of the game. And with the Cincinnati game, that was interesting because Cincinnati had the lead for most of the game, and Bill had the one back-breaking turn pick
Yeah.
six that kind of shifted the entire game. And in that Buffalo environment, Josh Allen just yanked the team on his back and just trekked up the snowy Buffalo tundra Buffalo for a beautiful victory. I'm not sure how much more correct you can get. It's not Buffalo doesn't have the frozen tundra. The frozen tundra is in Green Bay. Who? Yeah, Green Bay. They are an annoying team. I feel like their defense is always going to be a great defense, and their offense some weeks are going to look. Jordan Love is going to look like the remnants of Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers and Bart Starr. And other weeks they'll look like the last years of Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers, and I wasn't alive and Bart Starr retired, but I assume he wasn't that good.
I agree. I mean, their defense has been like the most consistent aspect of the season, but it's very strange because I mean, you see, like since going back to Cincinnati briefly, they've kind of in the past started off a little cold and they got hot towards mid part later the season. And if you look at Jordan Love's career, he's kind of been like that, where he's been like really good and good to like solid at the earlier part of his season, but then usually towards the end of the season, he gets really hot. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with like the meme and joke about like the
Mr. Biscuit,
Toyotathon. Well, Jordan Love, like, he gets hot
caught.
around the December Toyotathon sales, and it's kind of already it's showing. I mean, so far, I mean, he's played great these past two games.
This is like one of the dumbest and the most hilarious memes. Or not even a meme. It's just a reality. There's like anytime this Toyota-thon for the holidays, he becomes the greatest quarterback in that franchise's history. And it's the dumbest thing in the world is consistently happening.
And I mean, Chicago and Green Bay, it's always a great rivalry. It's probably might be like the best, still like the best rivalry in the sport. And just to show you kind of how top heavy, how great, how deep the NFC is. I mean, both teams they switched places yesterday, where like Chicago was a 2 seed and Green Bay, I believe, was a 6 or 7. And with the result yesterday, they switched seats. They switched playoff seeds right now. So Green Bay's 2 and Chicago's towards the bottom. They're still in the playoffs, but they're towards the bottom. That's why I think kind of going back to Dallas just really because there's so many good teams in the NFC. I feel like it's tough to be Dallas to kind of get back in there. So, but they both teams play. I mean, Chicago and Green Bay play in a few more weeks. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing that rematch.
No, that's like Chicago. They were on like what 8-9 game winning streak. Like they've had Ben Johnson was shirtless in the locker room after Thanksgiving. Everyone thought this was like I still don't believe in Chicago that much. I just don't think their scoring the differential is still. It very much reminds me of the Vikings from a few years ago, or just like any team that's like we're winning a lot, or even the Chiefs from last year. We're winning a lot of close games, but we still have clear flaws. So
Yeah.
it's good to see. I'm not saying it's good to see like them lose, but it's good to see it because I do feel like Green Bay is the best team in that division, and that's a very top 8, and that's a very like you have 3 dynamite playoff teams in that division. And you can say you have 3 dynamite playoff teams in the AFC South. Or at least you did until the wheels just fell off. Like I feel bad for Indianapolis because Houston, Jacksonville, and Indy. This entire season they've been it's been awesome to watch them all go from we can win this division. We're the favorites now. Now we're the favorites. Let's beat up on Tennessee. Yeah, let's beat Tennessee. Tennessee's everyone's punching bag. And you figure going to the last month of the season, it was like, okay, now we're gonna see what's gonna be the difference. and the difference just becomes health because you lose Daniel Jones on an innocuous just drop back step on pass where he just blows out his Achilles. It's his Achilles in the leg that wasn't even broken. I still think didn't get enough focus on that. Daniel Jones was playing with a broken fibula or tibia or something, and we just accepted that. He's a mobile quarterback, okay.
Yeah,
and he,
I'm sorry, Dale.
I said he goes down. Anthony Richardson, he still has a broken orbital bone. You have to put on Riley Leonard, and now he's injured. They said he might potentially miss time. Indy has one of the toughest end of the year schedules to go. They still have to play Jacksonville again. They still have to play a bunch of other playoff teams, and I just feel so bad for Indianapolis because they were the sweetheart team this entire season. Everyone was loving them. Everyone saying Jonathan Taylor was going to be the offensive player of the year. Now they're just going to stack the line against him. Everyone thought that Daniel Jones was a clear cut comeback player of the year. He might still be the comeback player of the year, honestly, but yeah, I don't want to say hope is lost, but hope is gone.
Yeah, I mean, I remember because I wasn't really I mean I was kind of busy a little bit yesterday. I remember you told me the news, and I mean it's because I mean as a Giant fan, I really was, and Dale knows this. Like I had planted my flag in the Daniel Jones mountain. I was one of the last Giant fans who said I really thought he was the guy. He could have been the guy with the Giants. So I was very happy to see him succeeding in Indy. And just to hear that news, it was very disappointing. Just because, like you said, they have a very tough schedule. Jacksonville's gotten hot. Houston's gotten hot. I mean, it was great. Like I don't know, 5-6 weeks ago, they were the toast of the league, and then everything kind of changed after that they blew that lead against Kansas City, and Kansas City came back to win that game, and they've just kind of been downhill since. And it's a shame because, like you said, like Daniel Jones, that team was having a great season. They had started off pretty hot, and they were like kind of looking at like arguing with vying with New England and Denver as like the top seed in the AFC. And now at this point, I'm afraid that you're right that I don't think they're gonna make the playoffs this year.
It all started like you say. It started with Kansas City. It goes back to the Pittsburgh game. They lost to Pittsburgh when they had the 6 turnover games, and then they won. I'm looking at the schedule right now. Then they won a close game against Atlanta in overtime. Then it was a KC game, and then they lost last week to the Texans, and that was the division game. And then this week they obviously lost to Jacksonville, and they end the schedule. Seattle, San Francisco, Jaguars again, and Houston.
Mm. I mean, that's like, I mean,
For
even
fourth
with
straight quarterback.
even if you had Deion Jones, you were lucky if you split that. I mean, now that you're kind of on your potential backup with Riley Leonard potentially being hurt, I can see them like losing the rest of the games of the season. And after starting off so hot, they'll end the season like I guess with 4 or 5 straight losses, which is a shame.
Also, now I'm thinking just in terms of contract because that's something me and Chelsea would talk about on the show a bunch of times. Like, what do you give Daniel Jones for a deal? Do you give him like a Baker Mayfield deal? You don't want to give him like, ironically, a Giants Daniel Jones deal for one season. Like, you all know what deal you want to get. And now at this point, you have to say he's not even going to be able to play next year potentially. He might probably not be able to even get on the field till Halloween if he's lucky. So now the Colts are back to step one in terms of we don't have a quarterback. We don't. Are you going to draft someone? Are we going to have to re-sign AR-15, Anthony Richardson, for a year and just hope that experiment works out again? Do you just like get someone off the street? Do you get Jameis off the street or Russell Wilson off the street to basically man the ship for? It's because it's an injury so late in the season that now you don't even have the ability to plan like Daniel's knock on wood. He should be able to start and by July and August he will be back on Washington's sideline. Jones isn't coming back for a good 10, 11 months. So he's going to miss.
He's not playing again until like October, November, probably.
Yeah. And it's terrible to see and it's terrible to watch. But unfortunately, that's the reality of football. That's the reality of sports. And like, yes, it's in Indiana. Be happy that you got you're happy that you have the Hoosiers win. And I guess technically you're also happy with Notre Dame because Notre Dame is now feuding with the NCAA.
I mean, that could be a whole other conversation. We could go on about that one for a long time.
Don't anger the Catholics. But we have to unfortunately move on to honestly with Chelsea before she called out. We were talking about we're at very different stages of our teams because you're coming off of the most devastating loss in years, and my black and gold was able to secure the number one seed at the moment after a crazy upset. I would say it's an upset winner.
I would say it was an upset. I mean, I don't have the numbers. I thought Baltimore was favored, but I wasn't sure.
It was a close vic. It was one of the closest, best games of the morning 1 o'clock window. It was one of the most viewed games because the fact that it was a division rivalry between the number one teams in the division. Um, I'm not sure if this game is one of those things where if it's did the Steelers win? Was Lamar just is Lamar? What's your take? Do you think what's going on with Lamar? He has to be injured, or is he at a different stage of his career? Because he just didn't look like for moments he looked like the Lamar
Yeah,
past.
I will say this is
But for
Lamar. This
moments,
I mean this loss against Pittsburgh. This is probably like the best he's looked coming back from his injury, but it's also like he still didn't look like the MVP, the two-time MVP that we've seen. So I feel like I'm afraid that I don't know sure if like the injuries he encountered early in the season are still kind of lingering a little bit. But I'm what I'm most afraid of is this is kind of like this is what we'll see from Lamar, like this type of play going on to the future, just because I mean he's older now. And I mean, that's naturally what happens to athletes. Where like as you get older, you don't play as good as you did in your prime. So I mean, I'm hoping that he'll come back next year and he'll be back and healthy. But yeah, it was a great game. It was especially like a great ending where you felt like Baltimore might have had a chance, but then Pittsburgh held on, especially that sack at the end. So, but even though this was like a kind of like it was a heartbreaker for Baltimore, they're still very much alive in this division, and they're playing each other again at the end of the season, which could be a spotlight game at like in the final week of the season. Because even though Pittsburgh's leading right now, they don't have the easy schedule. They play Miami, they play Detroit, and then they play, I believe, Cleveland. And even then, Cleveland's kind of looking not, and they're looking competitive.
they,
So I mean. I could definitely see this again. This rematch is like this great rivalry coming down to the end of the season, like it usually has done in the past.
the biggest problem that is true. Pittsburgh does have at least two of the four games are definitely going to be flip 'em games. Like Detroit's going to be a very tough game. I'm still Cleveland. I know should look really good, but at the same time, I'm still Pittsburgh should win that game. That should be
I would say they should, but I would not be surprised if Cleveland. I would be like I was more surprised that New Orleans beat Tampa Bay than I would be if like Cleveland beat Pittsburgh.
New Orleans Tampa Bay. That's a whole other. The Panthers are going to make the playoffs, Matthew. Or Carolina Panthers. But no, but the problem I think is why this was such an important one for Pittsburgh because they may have a tough schedule. Indianapolis schedule doesn't even Indianapolis and Baltimore have the two toughest schedules I feel in the AFC at this point. Because Baltimore have to play Cincinnati, the Patriots, Green Bay, and then Pittsburgh to close out the season.
Yeah, I mean that's not easy. I mean, yeah, I would much rather play Miami and Cleveland rather than say like New England or Green Bay. So I mean, I'm that's why I'm really excited to see how like these next few weeks play out because I mean maybe like that final week of the season will decide everything, and maybe I don't know, maybe Pittsburgh like takes a game or two, and then Baltimore just can't kind of get off the schneid, and then final week doesn't really mean much because Pittsburgh would have the division.
It's just like I'll say that okay, how I'll go back into this to look at Pittsburgh as a perspective from watching from the Steelers fan and like watching how the Steelers play. Their offense looked awesome in the first half, and then reverted back to where it had been most of the season in the second half.
Mm.
One of the reasons I feel like Lamar played as well as he did in the second half is Pittsburgh's offense could not like they would. It was three and outs constantly. I was think a lot of it was just Pittsburgh's defense just got exhausted because
Yeah.
I don't have the stats right, but I felt like every other series Pittsburgh got by the middle of the third quarter was three and out, four and out, three and out. It was just it was ridiculous, and I'm not sure if they were changing how much there was an adjustment at halftime for Baltimore's defense. I'm not sure how much it was just Rodgers kind of had to step back because Rodgers looked really good in the first half. He was actually throwing the ball deep, which we hadn't seen all year. He ran for a touchdown, which we definitely haven't seen all year. And the defense looked good in the first half. Like the fact that you held Lamar Jackson to I believe 9 points in a half of football, even though this is not the Lamar Jackson we saw from a year or two ago, that's big. I'm not sure why they didn't give the ball to Derrick Henry more than they were usually doing, because I feel like Derrick Henry is just a beast, and
Yeah.
every time he got the ball, I felt like he was gaining 4 or 5 yards on Pittsburgh. But that's a whole other situation with their offense, and the fact that Tomlin was kind of coaching for his job, and which I don't, I think that's something people we Tomlin's been coaching for his job for a little bit now, but I don't really hear the same thing for Harbaugh on the other side, and I don't know why.
I mean, with as I've had friends who are Baltimore Ravens fans, and it is a very similar theme where maybe nationally is not discussed as much, but but locally and among the fans, I feel like it's very similar where like probably like they both want kind of change in transition just because I mean both teams are like they're very well run and like they've been very consistent, but at one point at some point you would want to go on to the next level to like win a playoff game or get back or get to the Super Bowl. And so I mean I definitely have heard echoes from like both Steelers fans and Ravens fans like maybe this is time even though we love them and they brought a lot of success, maybe it's time for a change with Harbaugh and
Well, I
Tomlin.
can say like whoever wins that division, they probably gets down by the Bills and playoffs. Is this has been a weird MVP season. I like has Josh Allen earned himself a second straight MVP? Because I'm just thinking about who's the main MVP. No, okay, immediately. Dang, that
Yeah.
was quick.
I mean,
Um,
I like Josh Allen, and one of the things I really like about Josh Allen, as it really showed in the game against Buffalo, I mean against Cincinnati yesterday, where I mean James Cook is a good running back, but I feel like he's never really had like the skill position guy. He's never had like a Travis Kelce or Mark Andrews or certainly not a Jamar Chase, but they always put up these big points, and he always has these big games. So I mean. I like Josh Allen, but I would not put him in the MVP. I would still put probably like Matthew Stafford at the top. I mean, he's thrown himself into the conversation. I feel like probably within like the top 5 or 6. So I think he should get some consideration. But I mean, the game against Cincinnati kind of shows like why if you want to make the argument, like I certainly wouldn't be against it.
um, that's fair. Like I do agree with you. I think Stafford is probably been the MVP this entire season, and after what the heck happened in Carolina last week, he's certainly. I, I think I saw a meme like it's Arizona's one job is just getting teams right. Just like if you have a bad game, we need to make some adjustments. Don't want to play Arizona, okay? But no, Josh Allen. I feel just in terms from the definition as valuable. I feel like he's the most valuable player in football for a single team. It's my thing. I feel
Yeah.
like we've seen the problem with the Bengals is in Joe Burrow is the defense because Joe Flacco
Hmm.
couldn't play any better than what he did and he was still losing games. Lamar has like when we've seen the Ravens without Lamar struggle, but they still I feel like they'll still win 5 or 6 games a season. I feel like the Bills would be the worst team in football without Josh Allen.
No, no,
Honestly,
I agree. And I mean, if we kind of go off like even to like Kansas City, I mean, Andy Reid is an offensive genius. I mean, they still have like a lot of good veteran leadership there. So I mean, they obviously would not be like what they would. I mean, they would not be like contending for the Super Bowl or even in playoffs without Patrick Mahomes. But yeah, I agree. I mean, the Bills are probably like they're picking within like the top 3 picks if they do not have Josh Allen.
so yeah. So I guess that's our most valuable player in terms of value, but in terms of best player this year, it's no doubt has been Stafford. Stafford, once again, he looks like I think I asked you about this. Well, maybe it was Chelsea. Is there ever been an athlete that was like good but not clearly an MVP by like 30, like by like 34, and then from 34 onwards, it's like, oh, this is like a Hall of Famer. Like this, people are like, oh, LeBron looks so good. LeBron was a Hall of Famer by age 25.
Yeah, I mean, even like with like recent quarterback transitions of like Tom Brady and Peyton Manning, like they were always like established football legends when they joined Denver and Tampa Bay respectively. And I've always liked Matthew Stafford. Matthew Stafford has always been one of my favorite players. But even before when he joined the Rams, I'm like I like him. I'm not sure if he's a Hall of Famer, but now he's kind of really elevated his play. I mean, now I feel like he's kind of like a guaranteed, or at least a lot of voters would put him in the Hall of Fame, especially if he wins the MVP this season and if they get back to the Super Bowl, which I think. And I mean, you never know in a one game scenario with the football playoffs. But if I were to put entertainment points or money on a team in the NFC, I would definitely be the Rams. I love that coach. I love that quarterback. I mean, they're very well rounded on both sides of the ball. They have a great pass rush. So you never know. Like I said, you never know in a one game scenario. But like I think the Rams are the best team in the sport right now.
It'd be hilarious if Aaron Donald comes back just at the end of like a Christmas gift. It'll be even though we had the whole Frank Ragnow situation in Detroit, like, oh, see, you can't just kind of step on the couch. I feel like Aaron Donald could just step out the couch and just destroy and still cause a double team.
I mean, if you've seen Aaron Donald, yeah, he definitely looks like he could jump right off the couch.
well, one team that well transition, one team that needs Aaron Donald or some kind of hope and miracle at this point is the Kansas City Chiefs, which we it's like one of those things. Like we're not gonna say someone's dead until like a team like Kansas City or a dominant dynasty is dead until we see them dead. Earlier this season, I said they're dead, and then I brought them back to life, which maybe I shouldn't have because it's time to put them back in the grave at this point. And I don't think this is the end of the dynasty. I think that's the one thing that everyone's saying, and I don't think is accurate. This isn't the end of the dynasty, the same way that the 05-06 Patriots won the end of the Patriots dynasty. We saw what happened to the Patriots. Like in their first three, they won three Super Bowls in 4 years. Then they had to adjust a little, and then they got Randy Moss and Wes Welker. Sometimes, you just have to let some of the older players go. This is probably we don't know anything yet, but this probably is assumed to be Kelsey's last season. Um, I'm not sure what to go happening with the running game at this point because I like Kareem Hunt and Isaiah Pacheco, but they're clearly not the running back. They're not like top running backs in the league. They're solid backs. They can be a solid number two back, but as a duo, they're still kind of weaker in the running game. That's one reason why Mahomes has to run so much now, is it gets for rushing yards and stuff. It also doesn't help that your offensive lineman got his leg just gruesomely injured on like one of the first plays of the game. So we're at a different point in the Chiefs storyline into the Mahomes legacy and potentially the Andy Reid legacy because he is getting up there in age too. So we are not sure how much longer he was even going to coach. No, but this isn't the end of the dynasty because all you need is one George Pickens in free agency. All you need is one trade for a disgruntled receiver. Imagine Justin Jefferson just going to Kansas City the same way Randy Moss talked his way from Oakland to New England. Like Kansas City is still, as long as you have Patrick Mahomes, you're always going to be in contention. But man, it was just last night. Last night felt like I don't remember if you remember this game. It felt like the Patriots versus Saints. It was a Monday night game. It was the year the Saints won the Super Bowl, and this is this is after I think this was after 16-0. This is after the knee injuries and stuff. And so I think this is like a year or two before the Giants beat the Patriots game for a second time. And after that game, everyone said the dynasty was over because the Saints just looked faster, bigger, faster, stronger, and they just threw Brady around the Superdome like he was a rag doll. So I think we're at that point in the Chiefs story, as in this is the end of the dynasty part one. And it's going to be interesting what they do during the offseason, how they gear up, because they need to gear up, definitely. Because if I see one more Chiefs receiver drop a pass, I'm going to fight someone for Patrick Mahomes' behalf.
I know this isn't like the best answer, but I wouldn't say it's the end of the dynasty, but I also wouldn't say like it's going to keep going. I mean, I feel like with Patrick Mahomes, yes, you still have a chance, but as I've looked at, like, say, like with Buffalo with Josh Allen, and in terms of like Cincinnati with their defense, it's up to the decision makers of how they construct and build up that roster. I feel like these past few years, I think Kansas City has failed to like really develop a winning game around Patrick Mahomes. I mean, Isaiah Pacheco and Kareem Hunt, like they in the past they were like solid backs, but I mean, I never saw them as guys that if they need like 4 yards, like they would guaranteed get that 4 yards. And even though the Chiefs have drafted receivers, I think they haven't really like hit on that like that big one like a Rob Gronkowski or a Julian Edelman, someone who kind of helped prolong the career of Brady as he was getting older in New England. So, and I mean, again, kind of I guess we look at New England just because they're the latest dynasty, but I mean, it was very helpful to having like someone like Bill Belichick kind of make those decisions in between 2004 and the next Super Bowl when they won against Seattle. Where even though they went 10 years not without winning a Super Bowl. They went to two, and they were consistently playing deep into the AFC playoffs. And even the year when the dynasty, first part of the Patriots dynasty ended in 2005, they still won the division. They won the playoff game. They lost to Denver that season in the division round, but this Kansas City team's not even going to make the playoffs this year. So I feel like, I mean, we'll see how things go out, but I feel like New England back then at least was making decisions before the end. But I feel like Kansas City has kind of been very slow to the chase, and now it's really showing this season, where they're not even going to make the playoffs this year.
Maybe that's also well. Also, I think we're avoiding two big things. First of all, we're comparing it with Tom Brady and stuff. Tom Brady, but I think Tom Brady might just be an outlier. I'm not sure if this is going to be another quarterback that plays to like he's like 43, 44 at an MVP level, and also like the fact that they're playing the Dolphins, Jets, and Bills, while Kansas City actually has a tough division.
Yeah.
Like outside the Raiders, like Denver has the best defense in football, and the Chargers, even with all the injuries they've dealt with, they still have a Harbaugh as their coach. Herbert's to me is an underrated quarterback, and they're still probably going to make the playoffs as a wild card. They are in a very different situation in terms of the Patriots in that regards, and maybe because of the fact that Mahomes, even though Brady did get injured, Mahomes is more reliant on his mobility and moving around. That his career won't be as long. But I guess my perspective is even with this weaker version of the team, I still see Mahomes making plays. I still like the week ago they lost because their defense couldn't get off the field, and they this week they lost because part of it was Mahomes, but part of it was just because guys just kept dropping passes.
Yeah, I mean this Kansas City team, like I hadn't thought they would make the playoffs like for like past 2 or 3 weeks. And it's not that they're just like they just woke up and they're bad. I just feel like they've just kind of like maybe gradually decreased, but like you said, like the rest of the AFC is like really good, let alone their own division, where Denver is vying for the top seed with New England. The Chargers are a really good team. And then like the rest of the conference, like there's a lot of great like 8-win, 7-win teams already in this conference, and the Chiefs are with I believe with 6. So it's like it's not that they were. I mean, they're not what they have been in the past, but it also hasn't like they just woke up and they were playing like an 0-16, 0-17 team. They've just been gradual. Like they made these mistakes. The one score game that they're winning last year, they just haven't happened to not be winning this year. So I mean they need to make some retooling, but I don't think it's like a complete overhaul. I just think I mean it's just kind of hitting on the right spot. So.
And well, oh no, if Justin Jefferson gets to Patrick Mahomes, like Patrick Mahomes becomes the best fantasy quarterback immediately. It's like, yeah, it's going to be interesting seeing how they adjust this offseason. What are they focusing more on, like offensive line? Are they focus on running back? They have to focus on receivers because they just have a bunch of C plus receivers, B minus
Yeah.
receivers.
They
But
have a lot of number 2 and number 3 receivers, but not like a solid number 1.
and all you need is that Pickens. All you need is that Jefferson. All you need is, I guess, who I'm not sure is there. No, let's be real. AJ Brown. When he finally crashes out. But no, like this is gonna be interesting to see. It's gonna be an interesting end of the season. Like, yeah, we probably not gonna have a Kansas City Chiefs playoff, and not gonna have a Buffalo Bills playoff. Not Buffalo. A Baltimore Ravens playoff. No Lamar Jackson. No Joe Burrow. No Patrick Mahomes, which means it's Aaron Rodgers. It's time to get his second ring and retire. Matthew, thank you for joining. Thank you for joining us on Launch Codes once again. Thank you for you're definitely more Jameis than Russell today. I appreciate that.
I
Um,
try.
and only a couple of interceptions, so we love you. But hopefully Chelsea will get back on Wednesday for our I'm my bad on Thursday for our preview for the next week. We have even more games happening. You know where to follow us. I'm Daniel,
I'm Matthew.
and we'll see you in a few days. Good night, everyone.